Hello everyone, welcome to DCU Reboot Chapter 2 Heroes and Villains Part 1. Today we're gonna continue a series of videos that I'm working with where I describe how I would do a full DCU reboot with non-characters and more unknown characters. Earlier we talked about the mainliner plus a few others like Robin my Batgirl movie and a John Constantine movie. Today we're gonna bring in more, but we're also gonna expand much more because I'm a person that prefer to expand. I'm not gonna expand every single movie I show, and there are a season of Green Lantern that won't be in chapter 2, so that's that. And let's get started. The first movie in this chapter is a Justice Society of America movie. Members of the Justice Society is Ted Knight, aka Starman, Carter Hall, aka Hawkman, Jason Garrett, aka Flash, Alan Scott, aka Green Lantern, Ted Grant, aka Wildcat, Charles McKnighter, aka Dr. Midnight, Rex Tyler, aka Our Man. There will also be one original character that is a member, but she will die in the first part of the movie, and her name will be Star Woman and will be the wife of Ted Knight. The main villains will be the Injustice Society of America, and members are Johnny Sorrow, the leader and the main antagonist. Jordan McCant, aka Icicle, Gentleman Ghost, Isaac Bowling, aka the Fiddler, Henry King Sr., aka Brainwave, Stephen Sharp III, aka the Gambler, Solomon Grundy, Lawrence Crook, aka Sportsmaster, Paula Crooks, aka Tigress. And that is the members of the Injustice Society. They do outnumber our heroes a bit, but in the end that won't play that much of a role. The movie started a few years back with the Justice Society of America defeated by the Injustice Society, and we see the headquarters ruined. We see a tearful Starman crying over his dead wife, promising that he will bring down the Injustice Society. He and the rest of the Justice Society come up with a plan that they will buy their time, and instead of challenging them directly, they will let them have this victory and prepare a new plan to bring each of them down. They won't rush back into another fight, especially since they are outnumbered, exhausted, and emotional. They will wait. After a few years, the Justice Society is actually working against the Injustice Society, but they're doing it secretly. They do not want to rush in against a fight against them, especially since they have someone that is leaking information to them. They do not know who it is, but they have been able to verify it all and plan accordingly to the leaker. So they are actually able to pull multiple acts that sabotage the Injustice Society. That is what leads to their ultimate victory. However, it will not go that easily because both Starman and Our Man will die in this movie. The main villain's motivation, Johnny Sorrows, is that he wants to be a US senator. Not because he cares about the country, but because he plans to use his position to enrich himself and make laws that bans all superhero in his state. I haven't decided which state it should be. I'm really unsure, but he wants to ban all superheroes and he wants to force all metahuman to register everyone with a form for power. And then he wants to send the Injustice Society to capture them, and then they're just gonna sell them off to the highest bidder. Human trafficking, banishing heroes and killing them. To be honest, the way he set up the Injustice Society in his plan is to make sure that all of them potentially have a way to get to whoever he needs them to get to. Either get to someone's loved ones or getting close to them directly. Almost like an evil organization, just only different is that they are more of a supervillain team than a straight out organization. But everyone has somewhere they work. Except for Gentleman Ghost, who is just working as a spy. And Grundis, who is often kept locked up. And the story itself is quite simple after that. After a few years in hiding, the Justice Society comes out to dismantle the Injustice Society's plan. Although every character will get their own moment to shine, the two characters that we will mostly focus on is Starman and Hawkman. They are the two leaders, so we will get a lot of them. The other characters will get great moments, like I said, and we will get good focus to them as well. There will be at least 3 rounds with battles, and in the first round we will see multiple battles happen over different places, but we will be jumping from one battle to another and back and forth. In the first round, we have Starman versus Brainwave. This one is quite early and quite important because Starman will cause a small but important damage to Brainwave that will keep on playing off throughout the movie. We also see Hawkman versus Icicle, Dr. Midnight versus the Fiddler, Flash versus Solomon Grundy, Alan Scott versus Gambler, and Hourman and Wildcat versus Sportsmaster and Tigress. And yes, I'm calling her Tigress in this movie. And those are the fights in the first part. Like I said, it would be 3 big battles throughout this movie, and this is the first round of battles. In the second round of battles, here we have both teams fully fighting each other with full force. Starman is getting isolated and is forced to fight both Donner Sorrow and Icicle on his own, which leads to his death, a death that affects the team greatly. The other battles in this round is Hawkman versus Sportsmaster, Dr. Midnight versus Brainwave, Flash versus the Fiddler, Green Lantern versus Solomon Grundy, Hourman versus the Gambler, Wildcat versus Gentleman Ghost, and Tigress. After Starman's death, the team consider if they should stop going after the Injustice Society, but Hawkman holds a small speech about what Starman would have wanted them to do. He lost his wife first. He could have given up there and then, but that is not what his wife would have wanted him to do. She would not have wanted him to give up, and he doesn't want them to give up. So in the final battles, the first we see is Hawkman versus Johnny Sorrow, only that Hawkman is using Starman's staff, and that is actually what leads to him winning, because it's revealed that Starman's staff is actually something that Johnny Sorrow was scared of. It's able to harm him more than most other powers can. So when Hawkman realized why he was so eager to get rid of Starman, he smiles and says, "You were afraid of him." Flash versus Icicle. Here Icicle holds back, and just a little bit into the fight he flees. He was not planning on a prolonged fight with the Flash. That gives him time to upload all the proof about Johnny Sorrow to the rest of the world, ruining Johnny Sorrow's plan to be a U.S. Senator. Dr. Midnight versus Gambler and Fiddler. Alan Scott, aka Green Lantern, versus Gentleman Ghost and Brainwave. And here we see the effects from the previous fights, that when Brainwave was hit by Starman's staff, it caused a small damage that has been affecting his powers. That is why he is losing now. Rex Tyler, aka Owlman, versus Solomon Grundy. However, Owlman dies in this fight, but what he successfully does is tiring out Solomon Grundy enough that he just leaves. Wildcat versus Sportsmaster and Tigress. Now, you should think that the heroes are in a disadvantage, but throughout the movie, the heroes have been studying them. They have been attacking them from early on in strategically. When Starman first attacked Brainwave, it was to try and take him out early, but damaging him with his staff had almost a better effect. Second battle, even though Starman dies there, they learn more and more, and there is the knowledge that they can tell that the members of the Injustice Society is not fully loyal to each other. Some of them are loyal to Johnny Sorrow, but a good number of them aren't, and the heroes are playing into that. That is why they're winning. The heroes trust each other, they are loyal to each other, and when push comes to shove, they will do what they must to save each other. The Injustice Society does not have that same loyalty. After the final battle, Brainwave and the Fiddler is the one that gets arrested, while the rest of the Injustice Society escape. The reason those two are the ones that get arrested is because they are the only ones loyal to Johnny Sorrow, and they were the only ones willing to fight to the end after he was killed. In the end of the movie, we see Andrew Winston help set out a funeral for Ted Knight, aka Starman, and Rex Tyler, aka Owlman. And the team decide that they are gonna stick together, but they want to start mentoring younger heroes. In the end of the movie, we see the remaining members of the Injustice Society all meeting together, where Jordan said, "Oh, Johnny, if you just kept your promise, none of this would have happened," revealing that he was the traitor that leaked information to the Justice Society. Sportmaster asks, "What is our job now, boss?" For inspiration In this movie, Dr. Midnight, Joan Garrick, and Alan Scott don't have any that I particularly like to draw inspiration from, and some of them don't have any at all. I'm looking at you, Alan Scott, and Jason Garrick. I would draw inspiration from the Flash show, and for Rex Tyler, I draw inspiration from Justice Society World War II movie. For Wildcat, I draw inspiration from Justice League Unlimited. I'm not sure where to draw inspiration from the Fiddler and the Gambler because the previous version we've seen of them I haven't been the biggest fan of. The same goes for Gentleman Ghost, but he's a bit better, his version, than I seen from the Gambler in Stargirl and the Fiddler. For Icicle, I draw inspiration from Stargirl, and for Hawkman, I draw inspiration from the DCU. I don't have any particular place to draw inspiration from when it comes to Johnny Sorrow and Starman, but for Brainwave, it is again from the Stargirl show. For Huntress, or Tigress that I call her, it is also from the Stargirl show. However, for Sportsmaster, it is from Young Justice, and I might be a little bit biased here, since Young Justice is one of my favorite DC shows, and Sportsmaster is one of my favorite villains in that show. For Solomon Grundy, I will draw the sign from the Stargirl show, but ultimately his development and character will mostly be drawn from the Justice League cartoon. And there is where I draw inspiration for this movie's characters. Next movie is a sequel to the Superman movie, and that is Superman and the Girl of Steel. This one is based on Supergirl from Krypton and Superman Volume 2. And the story for this movie is quite simple. Supergirl's capsule lands on Earth and Superman finds it. He realized that Supergirl is his cousin, and now he wants to teach her to be a superhero and to accept Earth as a new home. The main villain of this movie is Bruno Mannheim, the leader of Intergang, and his plan in this movie is to get rid of all the opposition to him, and by doing that, he sends out his personal assassin, Robert Dubosi, aka Bloodsport. He had two other assistants or enforcers, that is John Corbett, who will become Metallo, and Whisper A. Derry. You might wonder, why would Bruno Mannheim be the main villain of a super movie? He's not that popular, and it's mostly because I don't want a villain that outshine either Superman or Supergirl. He will be the antagonist, but you may as well say that the main antagonist is Kara's trauma and how she had a hard time settling into Earth after what happened to Krypton. And with bringing Bloodsport into this movie, I guess you all can understand where we're going. We bring it in the moment where Bloodsport shoots Superman with a kryptonite bullet and almost kills him. This will be important because although this will cause Superman to really distrust him, when his boss puts civilians at risk, he defects to help Superman and Supergirl and bring real proof of Bruno's crime to their 40s, and he promised Superman that he will turn himself in if Superman let him help take them down. Superman agrees as long as he can agree to not use lethal force. And the reason John Corbin ends up becoming Metallo is because of an accident that is caused by Supergirl, which will cause some tension with her and Clark, but will be quickly resolved. I have now talked about all the major villains, the main villain, the two more secondary villains, and the real conflict, Kara's trauma. And that mostly the movie how it will be based. Bruno Hill wants to take over Intergang and use it to take over Metropolis, but he has to get rid of his rivals to do that. And if you're wondering how Bruno Mannheim can be a villain capable to challenge Superman just a little bit, it's because that in this movie we will see that they have alien technology, or more correctly, they have a technology and weapons from Apocalypse. Will play into future of the DCU, and that is why he is able to turn John Corbin into Metallo, and how he's able to equip himself with some weapons that give him a small chance against Superman. Again, he's not a major villain. There's no way he could defeat Superman, but he will be able to put up a fight. In the final battle, Superman will face off against Bruno Mannheim, Bloodsport will face off against Whisper Idea, and Supergirl will go up against Metallo. Superman go up against the main villain, Metallo fighting Supergirl, since Supergirl is the one that caused his accident that resulted in him becoming this, and Whisper because he had no problem killing civilians and children, which go against Bloodsport's moral code. And in a post-credit scene, we see Ultra Human Knight speaking to Lex Luthor and Lex saying, "Now that I helped you escape prison, I need your help to bring down Superman and the Justice League." And that one scene will help set up the next Justice League movie. And to some of the inspiration when it comes to Supergirl, I have a little taken from. Her main design look will be the one in Superman Unbound, but her story development was similar to the one in the Arrowverse. And take a little bit from Injustice 2 of how that she is deep down a good person, a little bit of a quirky person, like in My Adventure with Superman, and a little bit of insecurity that was shown in Supergirl and the Legion of Superheroes. Characters from the previous movie will return, like the ones you see on screen now, but there's only Lois and Jimmy that gets bigger roles. Now, for the villain side, for Bruno Mannheim, I've not liked the version we've seen. I don't know why I haven't liked them. They just have never really interested me, which is why I feel like giving the character maybe a chance in a movie might work better. But I have no place to draw inspiration from, and for the character usually right hand, I draw inspiration from Young Justice, but mostly because of the design. Two others you see on this list, Joseph Danton and Frank 60. I haven't seen them in any movies or shows, so I can't find any place to draw inspiration from. However, for Bloodsport, I draw inspiration for the DCEU and the DCU, and that because that portrayal was so great that I want to see how this character could go to be an anti-hero. And from Metallo, I draw inspiration from the DCAU, DC the Animated Universe. The first show in this chapter is Supergirl, and the first season will focus on Kara's continue adapting to living on Earth, and it will adapt the story Reign of Cyborg Superman. The story goes as follows. Kara still having a little bit issues adapting her life to Earth, but with the Danvers it helps and it helps. However, when she learns that her father is alive, Kara has to decide if she's gonna stick with her new Earth family or join her father, who will be the main villain of this season. And speaking of Sorel, we learned that he survived Krypton and was living on Argo City for a while until something happened that almost killed him. But he was saved by someone he said smartest creature in the universe. And now he wants to recreate Krypton on Earth and wants Kara to join him. And that will be the conflict. Will Kara side with her father or will she side with Earth? That is the real conflict. Of course, we all know she will ultimately pick Earth, but here's one of the moral thing about Cyborg Superman, aka Sorel, and that is he refused to kill Kara no matter what. She is his daughter, and he even killed one of his henchmen because they tried to kill her and almost did. He willing to fight and beat Kara up in order to try to knock some sense into her, or what he considered to be sense. He wants her to join him, but she refuses. In the end, it will look like he's dying, but it will be revealed later that he survived. Characters in this season, we had two returning characters, Silver Banshee and Cat Gran, but new characters, Alex Danvers, Elisa Danvers, who will take most inspiration from the Arrowverse, Benjamin Rubin, Jeremiah Danvers, again taking inspiration from the Arrowverse, Aurora Incy in flashbacks. I don't know where to draw inspiration for Sorel, aka Cyborg Superman, or his main henchman, the one he killed, Les Lalar. I'm also not sure where to draw inspiration for, say, Batista's Reacton. I draw inspiration from the Arrowverse. The next movie is Batman Broken City, and after this movie we will go into a little bit more fantasy Batman, but small part of it will start here. And like you can say, this one is based on Broken City storyline, not a full adaptation of course. This is the one that will inspire the story a little bit. The Penguin is going after Falcone. That will be one of the primary conflict of the movie. Falcone will have a really big role, but in this movie, secrets that both Jim and Batman didn't know will come out, and when it does, it will affect how Batman sees criminal going forward. He's never fully trusted Falcone. He did accept that Falcone did what he did because he believed it will help Gotham, but Falcone had a promise with Batman and Jim, and that is that he was going to be an informant to them, and he was not gonna have people assassinated or murdered. He was going to use his men only to show a little bit force when they needed, but they was not going to kill people. And Falcone has secretly assassinated people behind Jim's and Batman's back. That will be a really big reveal, and that will lead to Batman changing the belief that even when a criminal have good intention, you can't work with criminals. You may say it this way: in this universe, Falcone has been the role of the Penguin, that he sometimes is a criminal Batman can tolerate in exchange for information. However, going forward, that will no longer be the case. And if you're wondering why they never suspected him of this, it's because he always was able to pin it on a rival gang, but who also had issues with other gangs, making it less likely that he was behind it, and more likely that the bigger rival was the one behind it. This movie will also tie a little more to the first Batman movie in this universe, and that is that Batman suspects that Penguin had something to do with Flamingo's death, and he brings this to Jim, Robin, and Batgirl, making it clear that he believes that the Penguin has been pulling the string from the shadow this entire time, and now he wants to come out in the light to rule Gotham criminals on the world, and it's time they free Gotham from him. Batman, Batgirl, and Robin will focusing on going after criminals on the street to get information out of them, and Gordon sending some of his police force to Falcone to protect him. During interrogating a few criminals, Batman comes across Victor Sass, who is an extremely dangerous criminal. And when he fights him, this man is more skilled than what Batman is used to when it comes to what he believes is just thugs. He's actually able to push Batman back in multiple occasions. He is one of the deadliest assassins in Gotham. Batman realized this quite quickly, that this one he has to take extra serious. Batman holds a little bit back usually in order not to knock out criminals before he gets information, but he can't do that here. The fight ends with Batman wooden and Victor Sass escaping. The next day after Bruce's battle with Victor Sass, Bruce ends up talking to Alfred and Dick. And then Bruce says, how can someone that's been able to manipulate Gotham from the shadows be someone they know nothing about? Alfred tells him that under Gotham's creation there was multiple founding fathers, and that some of them was always a bit crooked, some were good, some were evil, but they all had to do things back then that I weren't happy with. The reason why Alfred is telling this to Bruce is because this set up the potential that someone that has already been in Gotham, someone that was born there, someone that has a family connected to the birth of Gotham is the one behind all this. And it makes Bruce thinking, maybe the one that's pulling the strings here in Gotham now is someone that been part of a family pulling the strings from the beginning. And that is what Bruce starts looking into. Dick asks Alfred, what do you actually think, Alfred? Do you have an idea who's behind all of this? Alfred tells Richard that there was always a family in Gotham that has always been corrupted, that always did some dealings with criminal, but they were forced out, and that they tried to return to Gotham multiple times. Unfortunately, Alfred just unfortunately, The problem is that Alfred don't remember what their name was, saying it happened long ago and he was a teenager when it happened. So he's not sure who's really it is that family was. Later, Batman is investigating the family that was banished from Gotham, and he finds out that they were named the Cobblepots, and he finds the name of the last member of that family, Oswald Cobblepot, aka the Penguin. He meets Christopher Allen and Renee Montagna and asking them to bring this information to Gordon, telling them that he needs to know about it. And over to Falcone's base, we see him being protected by a good number of his own men and some police. And the two of them that is leading the squad that is protecting him when it comes to the police is Sarah Essen and Harvey Bullock, who keeps telling Falcone that he will be safe. But Falcone tells them, I don't feel safe. And then it happened. Penguin's men attack Falcone's base, and the two people that's leading the forces are Victor Sass and the ventriloquist and his Scarface. If you guys wonder why Scarface is working for Penguin, it's simply because he believes he can use Penguin to become a bigger criminal later and make his own plan to become a big player in Gotham. Selfish reason through and through. Harvey Bullock and Sarah is trying to stop them. However, Arnold Wesker shoots Harvey Bullock. Not a fatal blow, but enough to stop him. And for Victor Sass, he straight up murders Sarah. As he's not holding back, he is stabbing her to death after shooting her. Then they capture Falcone, and some corrupt police officers is helping them escape. Now one of Batman and Jordan's allies is dead, another one is injured, and one of the criminals that helped them keep the peace in Gotham has now been captured by someone that doesn't care about peace in Gotham. After Falcone's capture, Batman, Batgirl, Robin, James Gordon, Crispus Allen, and Renee Montoya is all meeting at Falcone's headquarters, where they finally learn everything Falcone has done in the shadows behind their back. Batman tells Jim, I will never work with criminals again like the way we have. There was a mistake trusting Falcone. Jim tells him that he's correct, although Falcone gave some level of protection, some level of stability to Gotham. Overall, it was a mistake. After that, we see in Penguin's hideout that Penguin is now face to face with Carmine Falcone, and he's laughing, saying how he outsmarted him in every level. That Falcone family was part of the reason why the Cobblepot was exiled, and now it's time for revenge for his family. Falcone tells him that the Cobblepot has never cared about Gotham or their family. They were all scum and telling him that so are you. Oswald is actually laughing. Oh, you think I don't care about family? I built an empire from my father's ruin after he was assassinated by your men. I was the one that took care of my sick mother until her dying day. I'm the one that kept the Copperpot name alive, even though I had to call myself the Penguin. I am gonna enjoy putting an end to the Falcone lineage I'm gonna enjoy putting an end to all of the Falcons. And with that, Penguin kills Carmine. Batman, Robin, and Batgirl find Falco's body, and Robin asks, "What are we going to do now?" Batman tells them to contact Gordon and tell them they found Falcone and he's dead. And Batman tells them that I think I might know where Penguin is, but I'm gonna need to confirm it before we take action. Back in the Batcave, Bruce is looking over all the information he has and all the evidence, and he's starting to close in on where Cobblepot's, aka the Penguin's base is. But Alfred gives him the final key he needs, some information that he himself has successfully been digging up. And with that as help, then Bruce is able to pinpoint Penguin's base, the Iceberg Allowance, and he sends the information to Robin, Batgirl, and Gordon. And then the final battle starts. Gordon and his police force is mostly focusing on minor goons, not the three big players. Batgirl is chasing after the ventriloquist. Robin is fighting Victor Sass, and Batman meets face to face with Penguin. And Penguin holds an evil monologue where he's saying that I had this great plan to make Gotham mine. I was gonna be the king of Gotham. And Batman tells him that you will be nothing. You're nothing like Falcone. Penguin says, yes, I'm nothing like him. He was weak. Well, Bruce says, I despise the fact that Falcone did not keep his word and killed people behind my back. But nothing will be worse if you be the new leader of Gotham criminal underworld. I will do whatever I can to stop you. And then they fight. Batgirl is quickly defeating Scarface and McCultrist, and they get arrested. However, Robin is not able to win over Victor Sass, as Sass successfully wounds Robin and is about to kill him. However, some of Gordon's police force is interrupting, and they're opening fire at Victor Sass. He has no choice but to escape. And Batman is fighting Penguin, and it's clear that either the Penguin is a good fighter, he's not a great martial artist. He usually using his trick umbrellas like fire umbrella, gun umbrella, and that to fight. And that is keeping Batman on his toes for a little bit, but overall Batman overpowers Penguin in the fight. He destroys some of his weapon umbrellas, and if it weren't for the surprise attack from Victor Sass, who used a secret entrance to get to Penguin, he would actually have been able to capture Penguin there and there. But thanks to Batman, Gordon, Robin, Batgirl, and the rest of the police force, Penguin's entire operation is shattered, and he has no choice but to flee. Once again, the reason why I go for this type of ending for Penguin is because it set out the worst thing that can actually happen to him. He wanted to return, take over Gotham, and become the new criminal mastermind of Gotham. He wanted to regain his family's honor, and now once again he has to flee Gotham in order to have a chance to work against it later. Everything he worked for has fallen to pieces. After the final battle, we see a funeral scene where Jim Gordon is holding a speech where he tells them all that Sarah Essen was one of the best police officer he had. And then in the final scene, we see Batman, Robin, and Batgirl, and Batman is not happy with how things turn out, saying that if they work better, Sarah Essen would still be alive, Penguin will be captured. We stop Penguin this time, but what about next time? What damage will it cause then? This city is now broken because we couldn't stop Penguin sooner. But Batgirl tells him that we can still fix Gotham, we can still make the city better, but if we give up, then the damage will never be fixed. Gotham needs Batman, and Batman needs Gotham. But Bruce says that Gotham needs more than just Batman. It needs someone that can give it hope, and that is something he's not good at giving. Robin tells him that you have never been the best when it comes to hope, but you are a realist. You see the real truth of Gotham. You see that even though there are many evil people, there's still many good people too. Batman knows that what they're saying is true, but he is angry over that Penguin escape and that a really good police officer died, so he wants to have some time off, which Batgirl and Robin agrees to. In a mid-credit scene, we see a man with white skin smiling and saying, "Oh, this will be fun." In a post-credit scene, Richard tells Batman that he's no longer gonna be Robin and that he's going to go out on his own for a bit. Bruce tells him, "I understand. I'm not happy about it, but I understand. But what am I gonna call you now?" Richard smiles and says, "How about Nightwing?" Character inspiration for this movie is Victor Sarge will draw inspiration from Gotham. Renee Montana will take inspiration from the DC animated universe. Crispus Allen will draw inspiration from Gotham. Scarface design will be from the Batman, the animated series. Arnold Wesker, aka the ventriloquist, will draw information from Batman the Animated Series. And that's it for this video. I know there was much Batman and Superman, but to be honest, I needed it to be this way because I have a certain way I'm following it up on. But now I leave it over to you people. How would you guys structure a DC cinematic universe? Let me know in the comment section down below, and I hope to see you guys again next time.